Finding the length of the leg of a 45, 45, 90-degree triangle. All right, so let's start off with understanding 45, 45, 90-degree triangles. Let's say we have a square, right? And as we know, in a square, all the sides are equal to one another. We're going to say this side is equal to 1, a unit square. 1 unit. Each angle is 90 degrees. Now, if we were to cut that square in half, right down the middle, we would get, use our imagination, we would get this here, this 45, 45, 90-degree triangle, because 90 divided by 2 is 45, right? But remember, this side is 1, and this side is 1 unit. We're going to use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing leg, which is the hypotenuse in this instance, because it's opposite the 90-degree angle. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So we'll have 1 squared plus 1 squared equals C squared. And 1 squared plus 1 squared is simply 1 plus 1 equals C squared. And 1 plus 1 is 2 equals C squared. And to get C by itself, we got to take the square root of both sides. Square root of 2 is equal to the square root of C squared, which will simply put us at our final result, which is the square root of 2 equals C. C is the hypotenuse, so in this leg is equal to the square root of 2. And from that, we'll know, moving forward, when we have a 45, 45, 90-degree triangle, the hypotenuse is going to be equal to the square root of 2 times the leg, right? So if this were another triangle, and it was a 45, 45-degree triangle, 45, 45, 90-degree triangle, we would know that this leg is equal to this leg. And let's say this was 6. Then that means this side was equal to 6. And we know we got to take the square root of 2 times the leg. So this side would be 6 square root of 2. All right, everybody? Now, if it were the reverse, let's say we only knew what the hypotenuse was. Let's say this was 3 square root of 2, and it was also a 45, 45, 90-degree triangle, meaning this leg is equal to this leg. To find this missing leg, we would divide by the square root of 2. So 3 square root of 2 over the square root of 2 would simply just be equal to 3. So the missing leg will be equal to 3. If we have the hypotenuse, then we divide by the square root of 2. If we do not have the hypotenuse, then we multiply by the square root of 2. Now let's use that information to solve here. We have the side, a leg is equal to 8. And we know in a 45, 45, 90-degree triangle that these two legs are equal to one another. So x equals 8. And to find the hypotenuse, we multiply the leg by the square root of 2. So y equals 8 times the square root of 2, which is simply written as 8 square root of 2. Great job. Let's go to the next one. Here we have a 90-degree angle, a 45-degree angle. So you guessed it, the remaining angle is going to be equal to 45 degrees. So we know that these two lines are equal to one another. So in this instance, x is equal to the square root of 2. And y is equal to the length of this side times the square root of 2. So we have the square root of 2 times the square root of 2. And let's not forget our principles of multiplication for radicals or square roots, which is if the a and b are real numbers, then the square root of a times the square root of b is equal to the square root of a times the square root of b. So for instance, if we had the square root of 3 times the square root of 4, that's equal to the square root of 3 times 4, which would simply be rewritten as square root of 12. Now we would have to do some further simplification here, but for the sake of examples, you get the picture. So here we have y equals the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, which is simply just 2. Alright. Another rule of thumb, the square root of x times the square root of x is equal to x. Alright. Let's move on. We have a 90-degree angle here, 45-degree angle here. So this is 45 degrees, which means these two legs are equal to one another. And to find y, we have to multiply this leg by the square root of 2. So y is equal to 60 square root of 2. Here we go. A 45-degree angle here, 90-degree angle here. So this is a 45-degree angle here. So this leg is equal to this leg. So we know that both y and x are equal to one another. They're the same length. Now to find either of these legs, which will be the same value, we have to do the hypotenuse, 15 square root of 2, divided by the square root of 2. Let's just write that better. 15 square root of 2 divided by the square root of 2. These two cancel out. Really, they go to 1. Which is equal to just 15. That's our answer. X and y are equal to 15. Here we have 4 square root of 2. So we know that x is going to equal 4 square root of 2 divided by the square root of 2. Cancels. So x is equal to 4. For our last one, we have the square root of 5. The square root of 5. So we know that these two lines are equal to one another, which means that these two angles are 45 degrees. And to find y, we have to do the length of the leg times the square root of 2. Now remember the rules of the principles of, or the properties of multiplication. So square root, if the a and b are real numbers, then the square root of a times the square root of b is equal to the square root of a times the square root of b. Which we will write here. Square root of 5 times the square root of 2 is equal to the square root of 5 times 2. Which is simply equal to the square root of 5. The square root of 10. Because 5 times 2 is 10. That's our answer. Good job, everybody.